Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another Noodle film review. Tonight we're going back to one of the classic sort of 80s slasher franchises. And we're going to be looking at one of the movies from the set. Now you might have seen on my channel a week or so ago, or a few weeks ago, my review of the documentary about Nightmare on Elm Street. So I thought I'd revisit one of the films tonight. From the Nightmare in Elm Street sort of series, and we're going to be looking at Wes Craven's New Nightmare. So we're going to go to like the very last one, because they did one called Freddy's Dead and they actually killed him off. But I think there was a big sort of outcry from another sort of Freddy film, and New Line Cinema got hold of Wes Craven and I think he agreed to write something, because I think he wasn't really happy with the sort of direction that when I seen the documentary that the actual series went, and I think he just wanted to give his own spin on it. And this is a clever film. It's because it brings back a lot of the original sort of cast from the original films, like Heather and that, and Robert, of course, and even Wes Craven stars in it, and even the sort of like directors of the New Line Cinema, the managing directors, they're all in it. And it sort of follows Heather, who's now had a family. She plays herself in the film, and she's had a family with a young son and a husband, and she's an actress, as says she plays herself, and she's this is supposed to be like 10 years or so after Nightmare on Elm Street. So she's obviously, she starred in that, and she's starting to experience all these weird sort of goings on, like these sort of phone calls and stuff that sorry, just itchy arm. She gets these mysterious phone calls, which she believes to be Freddy, and no one sort of believes. I think she's sort of dreaming this, because I think this film, when she did it, sort of like gave her nightmares, and so she's been haunted by these sort of nightmares, and she's sort of like she really overacts in the film, and she thinks she thinks her young little boy is also experiencing these sort of episodes of Freddy, and she believes sometimes that he's actually behaving a lot like Freddy, and he is in this film. You see some sort of things he says. It's very much like sort of Freddy. Anyway, when the film sort of starts, it kind of like it starts in like a film studio. You see Wes Craven, and you see all these sort of like the glove and stuff like that. And this glove comes to life, and he starts killing some of the sort of like staff of the film off. And then obviously she wakes up, because it's obviously a nightmare, and there's like an earthquake going on and stuff like this. So the film starts off rather strangely, because it sort of starts, like I said, on a sort of film set, and you think, oh, this is a film set, is it, or whatever? Anyway, and since then she starts experiencing these really weird sort of things, like phone calls, and she's nervous about everything. The door knocks, and you get dramatic music, and she's like, "Who's at the door?" It's like, it's like, just answer the bloody door. and and she gets visited by a friend who comes to babysit for the lad while she's got to go off to work. And she goes off to work in her, I think she's doing like an interview for a TV show about Nightmare on Elm Street. And the studio's all full of sort of fans and stuff like that, and they're asking all these questions about what it was like to do that. Would you ever do it again? And all this sort of thing. Is Freddy really dead? And that. And then they bring in Robert England as a special guest on the TV show, and he comes in dressed as Freddy, and that sort of freaks her out a little bit as well. And it's quite cool. It's quite different, the story, the sort of start of the story, the way it takes. I really like it. And then obviously Robert England's out of costume, and you see him and Heather talking about the good old days and stuff like that. And she gets a call to go off to New Line Cinema. They want to see her. Anyway, so she goes off to the film studio, New Line Cinema, and meets with like the bosses there, and they are trying to encourage her to come back because they want to make another Nightmare film, The Ultimate Nightmare, and Wes Craven's writing it. And she's really, really reluctant to do it. And she starts asking questions. When did Wes started writing this script? Because she's trying to find out if all these weird things are happening to her that started to happen when Wes wrote this sort of script. Anyway, and sort of like weird phone calls and stuff like that. And I think they've been receiving them as well, but they're sort of like not saying. Anyway, she doesn't want to do this new movie. She just doesn't want anything to do with it. And then we see her going back home to her, and she hears her lad screaming, and she goes running in, and he's asleep, sort of like screaming in his sleep, and she sort of like comforts him or wakes him up, and the babysitter says nothing's wrong. He's just started doing it, and all these sort of bizarre things happen. Like he's got a toy dinosaur that's got like ripped marks of like a claw across it, and all this sort of thing. So it's like Freddy is actually there and about, and leaving all these little clues, and so she's getting really concerned about it and all this, and she phones up her husband at work. He's been working in the film studio creating a new hand for this new Nightmare film, and she's very angry about it because he didn't tell her that he was doing this. Anyway, she tells him that the son's not well, and the way he's sort of behaving and stuff. So he says, "Well, I'm on my way home." So he starts to make his way home, and we see Heather. She's in bed with the boy, reading him stories and like Hansel and Gretel and stuff like this. And then eventually the lad sort of goes to sleep, and she gets a knock on the door, and it's the police turned up because whilst he was been driving home, he's been visited by Freddy by the looks of it, because we see the glove coming through the chair of his car and stuff like this, and sort of grabbing him in the chest and sort of stabbing him. And anyway, the police have turned up in his house and said that he's died in the car accident. Said he's fallen asleep and died in his car accident. And she goes off to the mortuary to see his sort of body, and she sees sort of big claw marks across his chest. And that's all I'm going to sort of tell you, really. So it's a very clever film because they're trying to sort of like almost make Freddy's is actually real sort of thing, when it's like when you've got the cast from the original Nightmare on Elm Street film trying to get together to make this new Nightmare sort of film. But all this weird stuff's going on in real life behind. It's like her husband's just been killed and all this sort of thing. So is Freddy real? Or is it all just in Heather's head? Or what is actually going on? You need to watch it and find out. What do I actually think of A New Nightmare? And to be honest, I think it's probably one of the better ones in the series. There's about 3 of them I really, really enjoyed. And this is one of them. I think it's because, maybe not just because it's written by Wes Craven, just I think it gave it a real sort of really real kind of feel to it. Although it's extremely cheesily overacted by Heather. She's hysterical in it. But it's such a cool sort of film. The pluses of this edition, the transfer in the box set is really cool, and I must say it is the most disappointing box set ever to be produced for a horror series in the UK. It's just nothing special about it, It's a slipcase with the films in the box, and it's just like, you've got one of the most iconic sort of TV and movie series that we've all loved, and you produced the sort of cheapest box set available. If this would have been Second Sight or Arrow, they would have produced an amazing sort of like a box set of it. Anyway, I'm diverging. Yeah, it's a good cast. It's fun. It's a black humour in it, and it's a good laugh. I really did enjoy the film, and it is one of the better ones in the series. So I'm going to score this an excellent watch and give it an 8 out of 10. Which I think is a fair score. As you guys know, Nightmare on Elm Street is not one of my favourite franchises. I am trying my best to sort of revisit them and get into them. Hence why I bought the documentary in that, because I thought, yeah, I want to give these another shot, because uh, I do like the sort of idea of Freddy Krueger, and I've even got him tattooed on my arm. I have to because it's a horror sleeve, and I've got a Freddy Krueger on there, and so it, it's it is a good franchise. I just find it quite. It's going to sound bad, but lame compared to quite a few of the others that are out there, like Halloween and Friday the 13th and the Chucky sort of franchise, because they went a bit further and a bit more sort of violent and bloody and gory. Well, they were quite bloody and gory, but because it's all set in a dream sort of world, it's a little bit out there sometimes, and that's where I get a bit thrown by it. But I can see why people love it, and Freddy Krueger's a classic horror icon. So, and it was good to revisit one of the movies, to be honest. So it's been cool. So New Nightmare, 8 out of 10. Any of you guys seen it? Let me know down below what you think of it. I think it is probably my second favourite of the franchise. Obviously, the first one's my favourite, and I do actually like the sort of the camp one, as they say, the number 2. I do like it, and Dream Warriors is another really cool one. So there is some good films to be had in this mixed bag of sort of like horror delights. But yeah, it's cool, and it's great to sort of visit it on my channel, and it's been a great fun. Until my next video, please check out some horror channels for me. Check out Horror Hands, Horror Geek, Man v Film, RS Designs, Pizzlewell, I'm the Ice Lord, Cat Watches Horror Movies, Grumpy Andrew's Haunted House, and a massive shout out to my lad Lemon Lord. Till next time, look after yourselves, look after one another. Oh, and a big shout out to Moon over Miami as well. I really hope I'll see you all soon.